Welcome back to Switch to Linux. Well, today we're going to have a look at Cachyos. We've looked at this a couple times in the past. We look at it about once a year or so. And they did just drop another release. We'll get into what is up with that one soon here. But Cachyos has been really moving high in the rankings. #1 spot on Distro Watch, as if that matters. It is also the favorite Linux distribution of some ordinary gamers. And so I did want to have a brief look at this. Also, I am using an Arch-based system. I use Endeavor OS, which I've installed several years ago, and it still works just fine. And so I don't have a need to build a new Arch system. If I were building an Arch system now, though, I would consider either Cachyos or Dragora, two projects that have come up after Endeavor OS, at least gained notoriety after Endeavor OS. And I think these two do have a lot of good reasons you might want to move with it. Cachyos is particularly good for gamers because it does use some optimization, which will give you some better performance as well, according to what they say here. So it compiles here with x86 64v3, x86 64v4, and Zen 4 instructions for higher performance. They have a number of different editions. You can use desktop environments. You can use Wayland or X where available, and a number of different desktop environments. And you do have, they say, the customizable installation process offers to installers a user-friendly GUI version based on Calamares and a CLI-based options for those who prefer doing the command line. So this is, of course, we're running on the live key here, and we're going to install this onto my portable SSD for real hardware, so we'll give it a real hardware test. And so that really is what they are about. As far as this particular release, they've added Orca and eSpeaking into the ISO and installer, so you can have some help with the installation process. Although I didn't specifically see anything in Calamares, looking at it very briefly. But if you go into the accessibility settings, in the settings, you can turn on the screen reading options. So that is what you have. Then they have a number of other options here, including they are going to be looking at a Plasma Login Manager or a Cosmic Greeter. And eventually they want to replace SDDM with the Plasma Login Manager. They're not doing it yet because of some conflicts with KDE's settings. And then there's just a few other options. So there you go. The hello now opens Cachyos' package installer window when the install apps button is clicked. All right. Just a bunch of other little minor things. So this is the latest version. So we're going to go ahead and walk through the installation process here to see how this guy works. And then we'll have a look at it on real hardware to have another look there. So let's go ahead and hit the launch installer button. So the first thing is we have to choose our bootloader option. And so this is how will the system look for bootloaders. I'm going to go with Grub because I know that that's going to work as I take this disk portably among different systems. I don't want to get into something weird or something I have to stop and consider. All right. So we're going to start with our American English, and we'll change our time zone. No, New York. New York, thank you. There you go. America, New York, and then hit next for keyboard. We are on US English. That looks good. And then here we have to choose which option we're going to do. And then this is selecting the storage device. So this is the USB disk, which is our Ventoy installation media. This is the disk that we're going to install it on, and hopefully it will install on a disk this small. We're going to erase the disk. Of course, this will remove all of the data that is on the drive. So this is the SSD that I have that I just test Linux distributions on. Well, until this old 32 gigabyte thing that's over a decade old finally dies. Then I'll get something else. Maybe something a little bigger. I don't know. All right. Default is ButterFS. We have XFS. We have ext4, F2FS, and ZFS as an option. Let's go ahead and keep it, no, not manual partitioning, erase the disk, go ButterFS. We're going to keep with the defaults. Here's our current system. Oh, I have no idea what's installed on this thing right now. And afterwards, Very nice, easy Btrfs system. So we'll go ahead and run with that. And this is where we want to choose our desktop. Hey, you want a server? Just go down no desktop. Don't be mad at me when you log in and you have nothing but a command line. Where's the graphical interface? You didn't install a desktop, buddy. All right. The default here, we have Plasma, GNOME. And just having a look at this list, do we have like everything in here? There's stuff in here I've never heard of. They're probably all window managers. I don't really get into window managers, so... let's see, Wayfire. I think that's a Wayland. That's a compositor Wayland manager. Worst of all worlds. We got Cinnamon over here, my absolute favorite. We have the new Cosmic, which I think is out in alpha now. We have GNOME. So there's just a number of different options that you have. I'm going to, for this case here, we're just going to go ahead and stick with the Plasma default for now. That might shoot me in the foot a little bit because I'm going to want to screen record on this, and I'm not sure if they have the version of Plasma here. I think this version of Plasma will still have X. Plasma in the future is going to be dropping X, I think, in the next version, so beware of that. So we're going to stick with Plasma as the default. And now we want to choose which type of software we want to have installed. So here's all the various Cachyos stuff. So this is why people like things like Cachyos. This is based on Arch, which doesn't have a lot of these types of features. So they have built in a way that you can manage your kernel, manage your package installers, and things like that. So I really like all of those. Those are the reasons you would use this instead of just a plain regular Arch, because it has some extra tools that simplify the process. Here's shell configurations. Here's Fish or ZHS. We'll stick with those, both of them. Here's your base common packages, power management, hardware support. I mean, obviously, we want to keep all of that. And then here's the KDE desktop. So these are all of the things that are installed with Plasma. Now, all of the other desktop environments are uninstalled. If you wanted something crazy like Nemo or something, you could come down here and you'd probably have to install all of Cinnamon, so I wouldn't really do that. I think Nemo is dependent on that. But if you wanted something that's specifically tied to some other piece of software or piece of desktop environment there, you could actually install individual components from those. We're not going to here. Now, printing support. If you want to be able to print from this device, you're going to want to turn on printing support. So printing support at least needs cups filters. Cups PDF will allow you to print to PDF files. I would probably just go ahead and install all of these packages for printers. We're not going to do that in this case here. Support for HP printers and scanners. HP can go to hell in my opinion, so I'm not going to do any of that. Ugh. And then here is where you have those accessibility tools. So if you want these accessibility tools installed on the system, I don't have a problem with this, so I'm not going to do these. But what is nice here is that you can just kind of check this button here if you happen to need those accessibility features. You can easily click those on the installer and get those on your pre-installed system. Now, what's not here, at least so far, is just a list of generic software that you can choose to install. Here's Firefox and language packs if you want to install Firefox. Okay, we got a web browser at least. There you go. We'll go ahead and give it a name, and I'll do Cachyos, and then we need to give it a password. I'm going to give it a production password, which I always do on these SSDs. My super secret password that's definitely not 123 is reserved for virtual machines. Using the same password for administrative accounts, nice and easy. Okay, and this is just a review. Everything looks good. We'll go ahead and hit the install button. Now this will take, depending on your system, it will take anywhere from, maybe 5 minutes, maybe half hour to install it based on the speed of your internet connection and based on some other factors. Now, what you see there popping up in the side, this is Plasma's notification means to tell you that something has been plugged into your system. That happened because when it was partitioning the drives to create everything, it petitioned the drives and it said, hey, we found a new drive, because it just completed the partition. So don't worry about that. Just let that go. So we'll go ahead and pause the video here, and we will come back when this is done doing its thing. All right, so finished up, and I didn't pay attention to the clock there, but it was quite a long time. I would say over half hour. Looks like probably about an hour to actually finish the installation. Now, a lot of that's because most Arch systems, and this one did the same thing, it will download every package from Arch again, whereas many of your distributions will install themselves based on what is on the ISO that you've downloaded, which speeds up the installation time, and it will just download packages that have updated since then. This always just updates the whole thing right away, and that was most of it. It was downloading about a gigabyte, or I think it was 1.3 gigabytes of data. I'm going to go ahead and click done there, and then we're going to shut this down, and we will jump over to the laptop to actually run this and run the rest of the tests. All right, so here we are on the boot up screen here, and I've already logged in here, just had a brief look at a couple of things. And I connected the Wi-Fi, no problems there. I did test out the Bluetooth, and there's no problems now. However, the Bluetooth speaker did not want to connect. I actually had to attempt to connect it 3 times before it finally connected. But now it will connect just fine if I turn it on here. Give it just a second, and it should automatically connect itself. I hope anyway. Oh, there it goes. So it's automatically has connected itself. You'll see there we got the notification, got the sound notification, and the 2 little bars around the Bluetooth icon says that it is connected. And so that actually works out pretty nice. And if I just turn the speaker off, it disconnects, goes back to an available default mode. So that's good. This guy did not work on the monitor, but let me try, because I was displaying the screen without the panel. So let me test this out here, and that is displaying the dimming the built-in screen, and you can see this one is dimming the capture card. So my brightness screen dimmer and screen brightness application is actually working properly in this configuration. It did not work properly when I had closed the laptop lid and used just an external monitor, just to be aware of that. Okay, so this is the Cachy Hello. It's set to launch at start. If you don't want it, just go ahead and toggle this button off. I'm going to leave it on there for now. Inside of here, we have documentation. We have the support forums. We have software support, forum support, and we have get involved, development, donate. Of course, if this is a project you're using, you might consider a donation to them. There's a wiki. Now, what makes Cachy unique is the apps and tweaks has a lot of cool information here that is very useful. This one screen is why it is worth installing this as an Arch system, because it gives you a lot more tools. Now, as the evolution of Arch systems has come about, we have seen in some instances, like EndeavourOS had some cool tools, and I've actually gotten to the point where I don't use any of them anymore. I don't even know what or where they are at this point in time. But they weren't nearly as elegant as this. This one here, if I'm like, hey, I have no need for Bluetooth, I can simply toggle this button and all Bluetooth support stops. And that is very useful, because Bluetooth is one of those modern technologies that we should actually use cautiously. You should not leave Bluetooth perpetually turned on. It should not be automatically turned on when you boot your computer. It's not something that you should leave roaming around, particularly if you're taking your laptop to coffee shops and things like that. And if possible, you should use wired devices instead of Bluetooth where possible. But there are also good positive uses for it, so I like the fact that it's there. But if I'm like super privacy or security conscious, I'm going to simply toggle this off. That way I don't have to go through config files and figure out how to turn it off or do a bunch of other weird stuff. I just click on this guy here. Here's a Cachy update. I think this is going to enable automatic updates. Let's see, what else we got? Profile sync daemon enabled. We have OMD enabled. So see, there's a bunch of other options up here. We also have the things like the system update. This is going to check for updates. We can reinstall packages, reset key rings. Now, resetting key rings and removing DB locks, those are 2 useful things that some people using Arch could get hung up over. Resetting the key rings, if you happen to get to the point where your keys are out of sync, that can cause some problems, and there's a command you can run in Arch to reset that. This will just simply do that. The same thing if your updates in Arch are if your Arch updates are interrupted, it will not remove the DB lock, and this prevents you from doing anything else in the Pacman package manager system, which is the underlying package manager. And so you usually have to go and manually remove the lock file. This will simply remove that lock file. So you have that. You can clear the package cache. Do this with caution. There is one package I use on a regular basis on my Endeavor system that is, the current version is broken. So every time I do an update, because I should actually go through and just tell the system not to update it. But I have to oftentimes roll that one package back because the current version is broken on Arch. And so if I were to clear package cache, I could no longer go back to the last good version. So be careful with that. Removing orphans, of course, any dependencies that have been installed and are not there. Ranking mirrors is particularly useful if you travel around the country like I do, where I install my system may not be the best mirror for where I am now. And so re-ranking mirrors. There's gaming packages, Snapper support. Here's Wayland debug mode. We can change your DNS server. So if you want to use a custom DNS server like a Quad 9 or Cloudflare's 1.1.1.1, you can do that. Of course, changing your DNS server could also allow you to set up a, let's see if it allows you to do an optional or not. Doesn't actually give you the option to set something custom, but you can go in here and choose whatever you want. So here we're using basic Cloudflare. Here I could do Cloudflare malware and adult content blocking. I could actually do that on the system. And when I do that on the system, this computer will be protected from many of known malware attacks and adult content sites. So that would be a very useful thing if this is a kid's computer. Of course, don't give them the administrative account that they could change that. But that's actually a really nice feature that they have in here to simply change the DNS servers. Now, the other things we have, I want to look at the kernel manager first because this is the most available kernel manager I've seen. Right now we have available the Cachyos stable, and then we have an LTS kernel here as well. I'm not even sure exactly which one we are using. Let me go ahead and pull up About System and see which one we're actually using. So it looks like we're using the Cachyos 617. Let me see if I can turn off that mouse feature. I think it's under the accessibility options is where if you wiggle the mouse multiple times on Plasma, it'll get big like that. I find it really annoying. And I can't remember exactly where that is. Right. Let's see if I can do that. Keyboard, mouse navigation. I have no idea. Anyway, I hate that. Oh, shake cursor. There you go. Turn that off. Good. Turn that stupid cursor thing off. Good. Hate that. All right. So we are using this Cachyos. If I wanted to, when I boot into the system, I can choose to boot into the LTS kernel instead. But you can see that there's also many other kernels available. And so if you have a specific need for a specific kernel, you can go ahead and get those specific kernels set up for your system. And then as far as the package installer, we do have a very nice package installer here. This is the repository, just all the stuff in all its boring glory. But this is actually the nice sorting feature. So if you're looking for different types of software that you might want to install, there's Ardor or LMMS if you're doing music production type stuff. Audacity, I use that a bit. Lollipop is probably my preferred music player these days. If I'm looking for something that does my library stuff, albeit I don't usually do that as much. As far as browsers, so we have Brave, we have Chromium, Falcor, Falcor by Luck Dragonite. We have Firefox, which is installed. I could do the ESR Firefox instead. We have LibreWolf. We have Qt browser, the Tor browser, and Vivaldi, so I can easily install any of those in the package system here. Here's your various communication options. And then just a number of different development tools, bunch of stuff. Of course, you can install other packages that are not necessarily in this suite here as well. So there's other packages you can install. This is mostly just your most common commonly installed features. So you can easily look for the different things that you want. So I do really like this particular software installer. It's very much like MX Linux. Just here's the most popular applications that most people use. And if you want something else, you can search for it in the repositories, over here. And so let's see. I use Bluefish for my website editor stuff. So there you go. You can just type that in there. So if there's some application you're looking for, you can go ahead and do that. Here's FileZilla. I use that for FTP transfers. So you can install anything that you want pretty easily in the package software manager. So that's actually a really nice feature that the system has. As far as what it comes with pre-installed, I did not actually have to install anything else. Just decided to record this on the main streaming computer with the capture card. So you can see that it does come with just enough information here, just enough applications to have a functional system. It's not something that is overly bloated with any software. We don't even have any basic Office suite on here. Really, the only thing we have outside of a basic system utility is the web browser. And even that was an option to install when we installed the system. Let's have a look at performance here. So BTOP for performance. This is actually kind of my new preferred system. I just like the look of it. Although it doesn't give me the option to display the frequency of each individual processor separately, as HTOP allows you to do. But I do like the layout and the format of this one here. CPU's not doing any real work right now. And you can see that we are using 1.6 gig of RAM to run this whole system, which is a very good, very modern system. So overall, I really like this system. And if I were looking at installing Arch today, like if my Endeavor OS system just had some major, horrible, fatal situation, okay, can't recover this, gotta rebuild, reinstall, I personally would probably do this system, if nothing else than those very nice tools. So here's the Cachyos Hello is what gives us the screen that goes back. We can get into our apps and tweaks over here very nicely. And overall, the system so far, it feels really nice on this particular laptop, and not having any problems with it at all that I'm seeing. So definitely a good system, and it does look like it's performing quickly. I'd have to give it a full battery of tests to know for sure, but overall, it is a beautiful system. If you want to adjust like the display configuration, this is where that is. I guess one of the weird things for me, I had to stare at this for a little bit. There's no simple button to say, mirror the screens. You actually have to go down and find, well, it was under something weird. Where was it at? Even this, like, okay, if I want to go back to not mirror my screens, it's like, okay, color profile, mirror, let's see. It's in here somewhere. And it basically was something like, all right, I spent some time to figure out how to do, like, the Plasma team has lost their ever-loving mind. What happened to the button that simply says stop mirroring? Okay, so here's what you have to do. You have to turn replica off. Hit replica of none. Keep this. And it is still mirrored, because then you have to come up here and you have to drag this around manually somewhere. Okay, and I can't even get it exactly where I want. There you go. Come on. Snap. No, snap. Thank you. Apply. That's what I have to do to extend the monitor. That is ridiculously stupid. That's not the Cachy group. That is Plasma. Why in the world are you doing a system like that? It makes absolutely no sense. But anyway, there is my brief look at Cachyos. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. Are you using it? If so, tell me your thoughts on your experience. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.